Hello and welcome to the second video in this series on the most commonly asked questions that we get from How to Quit Working folks about quitting your job and starting a business. Now, I thought we had a really great list when we started doing this. I thought we had a great list of questions that we were going to pound through, but the thing that was so interesting about it was I kept getting another question back that I didn't have on the list. And I'm so glad that I was listening to the feedback that you were giving me as you watched the first video so that I was able to actually change it up and create a different video for the second one than what I'd actually planned on. The question that we kept getting so frequently was, well, I don't know what kind of business to start. And I think that's a really important question that we address in this video series is what kind of business should you start? Because if you start the wrong kind of business, you are destined for failure. And in working with the clients that we have in How to Quit Working over the years, as well as my own experience and Heather's experience, we've really developed a great body of knowledge around what really is the right way to think about what business to start. And I can't tell you what kind of business to start, but what I can tell you is a couple of things that you should really be thinking about as you make that decision. It's a very important decision. So I want to give you kind of two different paths. There's really two different schools that folks fall into on this one. The first school is the passion sort of path. I call it the passion path. And folks who are on the passion path have a much easier time determining what kind of business to start because they have something that they are super passionate about. That's maybe their art, or maybe it's graphic design, or maybe they're really passionate about helping people with legal issues and they're a lawyer, or maybe they're really passionate about helping people with health issues, or to learn how to take better care of their body, or how to be in better shape, or how to eat better, or something like that. There's those passion folks who have something that they're really passionate about and that they know that they want their business to go down that path. Now, folks like that probably didn't even click on this video because they know what kind of video or what kind of business they want to start. The folks who are watching this video, or you, are the folks who maybe you have some things that you're passionate about, maybe you don't, but you don't know how any of that translates into starting a business. And I think that there's another path that we have to look at, and this is the path that you're probably on, and that's the practicality path. That's the path of, okay, I don't have some great business idea. I don't have some recipe from my grandma for blueberry muffins that I want to take to the world. I don't have something really specific like that I've decided on, but I have decided that I want to do something different. I don't want to work for somebody else. I want to have my own business. I want to take control of my life, and I want to have control of my own destiny, and I want to make the decisions about what I do on a day-to-day basis. And I think that's most folks who are listening here, and you're just maybe not sure how you want to actually go about doing that. And that's what we're going to spend a majority of our time talking about today is how do you actually go about doing that thing or how do you actually go about starting a business when you don't have this really clear-cut path in front of you that you just know that you want to go down this way. And there's a couple of places to start there. The first thing that I always tell folks to do, and this sounds corny and it sounds like something that a lot of people have probably told you to do, but it's really important, and the key thing to remember here is it's just a starting point and don't take it literally. But what that is list out your hobbies and your interests and the things that you enjoy doing. When you go to websites, what websites do you go surf? Is it about photography, or is it about food? Is it about legal stuff? Is it about business? What's it about? What is the thing that you are really interested in to the point that that's the websites that you go and visit, and that's the way you spend your spare time, and that's the things that you really love. Now, one of the things that I think a lot of other gurus and folks kind of mess up is they tend to take that too literally, right? Because you're on a path where you're trying to figure out a business and you've got your interests, but we have to figure out how do your interests actually mesh up and how do they actually match up and create something that could be a viable business. So we're going to talk about that in the remainder of this video. But as you make that list, don't start thinking about how that translates into a business yet. Don't get all into that. Just make the list. Just make the list of the things that you're interested in, and just call that good. And then move on to the next step. And the next thing that I'd like you to do is to make a list of the reasons why people have hired you in the past, right? You probably have worked a number of jobs in your life or in your career, and there's things about each one of those jobs that you're good at. There's a reason why the employer hired you in the first place, and there's a reason why they kept you there, and there's a reason why they maybe promoted you, and there's probably some things that you did exceptionally, things that you did better than anybody else. And again, this doesn't have to be hard skills. This doesn't have to be computer programming or customer service or anything specific like that. It can be more general, more broad things. For example, are you really good at building relationships with people? Are you really good at having difficult conversations? Are you perhaps really good at figuring out the solution to problems? Write down the things that you're really good at, the things that your employer or your past employers have appreciated about you, the reasons they've hired you, the reasons that they've kept you around. So we're getting to your competencies here. Now, these aren't necessarily things that you enjoy. You don't necessarily have to enjoy these things that you're writing down that you're good at. It's just important that you understand where your skill set lies and where is it that other people, other employers see value in you. And what that's going to do is it's going to start to give us a little bit more information around what might be a good business idea for you. Now, go ahead and make that list, and remember that you don't have to focus on business ideas at this point. This isn't about business ideas still. You listed out your interest, you listed out the things that you're good at, the things that employers have identified that you're good at. And again, we're not trying to think of a business idea yet. We're just kind of brainstorming. Now, another thing that is really important to do is to go out there and take one of those personality tests. Like Myers-Briggs is a good one, and we'll put a link in the description of the video below to a good Myers-Briggs test that you can take. And really what this is going to do is this is going to give you an idea. If you haven't done this already, many folks have, but if you haven't done this already, it's going to give you an idea of kind of your personality type and what are some of the things that might work well for you and some of the things that might not work so well for you. And these are tests that I think it's really important to remember that, you know, every single one of us is a unique individual with a lot of unique characteristics about us. There's no two people that are exactly alike. I know that's cliche to say, but it's very, very true. We're very, very complicated human beings, and we can't be put into boxes. So it's important to remember that these things are they're just general guidelines. It doesn't mean that if you get some certain score on a test that it's definitely that way or that it can't go a different way. It just means that that's some information that you can use in moving forward and deciding on what your business might be. Now, the fourth thing that I'd like to ask you to do is that to just be really creative in terms of how you identify how these things might turn into a business. And this is more of, it's not so much a step, but it is a mindset change. You have to think, I hate this cliche, but you have to think outside the box, and you have to think in a very unique way. And you have to realize that the business that you start may not necessarily be in one of those boxes of businesses that you think about, right? You think about different types of businesses. Well, there's restaurants, there's online businesses, there's bookstores, there's mechanics, there's law firms. There's all of these sort of predefined ideas for what businesses are. But remember that the great thing about business, this is what I love the most about it, is you can push all of that aside, you can blow that up, and you can figure out where you add value and how you uniquely add value. You don't have to think in terms of these boxes that we have traditionally thought of businesses in, particularly in this age of the internet, where a lot of different ideas and options are wide open to you every single day. And you have different ways that you can potentially go about creating a business, different business models, different ways to go about creating your products, different ways to deliver your products, and so on. So remember to be very creative and think very much outside the box as you are moving through this process. And then finally, go back to that area, those areas of interest that you listed out in the first step, and talk to people about those things. The most important thing that you have to remember about business is we've done a lot of work here to think about you and what's right and appropriate for you and what might be helpful for you. But what you have to remember is the business has to be about the customer. It always has to start with them and what is important to them, what they want, what they need, and what they will actually pay money for. So once you identify that, and I call it a hypothesis, begin talking to people about that thing. Begin having deep conversations with people about that thing that you're interested in and about that thing that you might want to move forward with a business in, remembering that your business can look any way. It could be anything. It could take on any form. It could take on any sort of a business model. It could take on any kind of a pricing model. Because it's business, it doesn't have to fit into a box. You get to create the box. But it's so critical, and this is one of the things that everybody forgets to do. You have to start with that conversation, and you have to start by talking to people about what they want, what they're interested in, what they'll pay for, and what they want. And that's where it all starts, is with the customer, and then you deliver that. And when you find that match between your skills and your abilities and the things that you love and the things that you're passionate about and what people want, that's when you got the golden connection, and that's when you can really start to build your business. Now, what we're going to do in the next video is we're going to talk a little bit more about how to actually go about selecting a business model, and what are some different business models and some different ideas for businesses that you could start, and what are the pros and cons of each of those. So we're going to talk about that in the next video, which you'll receive in a couple of days. Meanwhile, leave a comment below. Let us know what you think about this and kind of what you think some of your strengths are and what you might be able to bring to the table as a business owner. I will talk to you in a couple of days with the next video, where we will talk more about the different types of business models that might work for you. Meanwhile, leave a comment below and maybe take that Myers-Briggs test that we put the link in below.